Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our new educational webinar where we strive, converse, and learn together. Today, we have a wonderful opportunity of being surrounded by wonderful ladies who are, by chance, specialists from the BioGut Clinic, alongside with the voice of the masses, who will bravely share her story walking the BioGut journey. Let me introduce our esteemed speakers. Raman Kapoor, our lovely leader in precision health, a mother, a chief health span officer, first chief health span officer, I need to mention that, and the founder of BioAro and the BioGut Clinic. She stays at the forefront of precision health, making it more accessible to people. And we have Alya Serghanuk, a lovely human being, a gorgeous lady, and psychologist, an innovator in the field of mind wellness, with her BioMind software designed to help people in a crisis situation. And last but not least, our guest, a brave Mohini, who will share her journey about the BioGut and share the challenges that she faced along the way. Well, I will invite you all actively participate today as asking questions and sharing perspective as we go together towards deeper understanding of the IBS and holistic approaches towards its management. Before starting, I want to mention that everyone can share their opinion, questions to the chat as we actively monitor it through the webinar, and we will be thrilled to answer all your questions. Thank you, and let's move on. Well, let's continue to our discussion, and we've been talking BioGut. So BioGut Clinic is actually an innovative clinic which is helping people with the irritable bowel syndrome, IBS in short, right? And then obviously for some people it's very unknown term, so I actually would like to ask our speakers today if they can tell us more about what is IBS. Raman, Alya, do you want to step in?
Alya, would you like to go, or?
You can go ahead.
Sure. So IBS, or irritable bowel syndrome, is a condition where there is kind of an oversensitivity between the nerve that runs from our gut to our brain, which is called not the butt brain, but the gut-brain axis. So what happens is there's kind of a mixed signal going, so your body doesn't understand when there's constipation, when there's diarrhea, when there might be a mix of the two. So it's an overstimulation and leads to having quite an irritable bowel. This irritable bowel syndrome tends to affect women more than it does men, and it tends to happen kind of in the prime of our lives, the ages of 25 to 55. It's very, very common, and many people don't realize they have it because it's so multifactorial in terms of its symptoms. The thing about IBS is it is affected by a number of different factors. So it's not just about the foods you eat, but it's about your mental health, it's about your exercise, it's about your lifestyle. All these factors come into play when there's a diagnosis of irritable bowel syndrome or IBS.
Wow, okay. Well, now we know how common it is, but I believe it's a pretty complex disorder,
Very
big
complex.
diagnosis, right? So, Mohini, today we have a wonderful opportunity to actually chat with you, right? And probably identifying that you have an IBS is more complex than actually curing it itself. So if you can just briefly tell us how you discovered that you have IBS.
Alina, thank you so much for such a warm welcome and asking me this question. Well, it's been a long journey, almost 11 years, struggling with my gut symptoms. Initially, it was very confusing to know what exactly happened. And even I consulted multiple doctors, nothing was diagnosed. It was very frustrating at times, like the problem is, but nothing is diagnosed. So I'm definitely grateful that I joined BioGut Clinic, and I feel happy, confident. That's what I can say as a new person these days.
Okay. Well, do you have any advice for the people who are now struggling with IBS but don't even know about it, right? Because most of the people, as Raman just mentioned, that it's just a complex of different syndromes that you don't even know what to relate. And obviously without knowing that you have IBS, it's hard to even understand where to start in order to cure them. So any
True.
advices?
True, Alina, that's what. So, what I would suggest, because first of all, one should not panic. One should not ignore any symptoms what they are experiencing. Because at times, what happens, we become doctors ourselves, and we think what we ate or what we did, it's making relations between what the symptoms is happening to me. So it's not like that. So we should stop connecting dots and definitely seek help from the experts like BioGut Clinic, which I have seen lots of changes in my life. So, and changing lives, I do not mean it's a complete 180-degree change. It's just easy, simple steps which anybody could follow, adapt, and it's just to make yourself more comfortable and in the situation what you are going through. And there is a gradual change which motivates you to stay with those things forever. So I would advise, do not panic, accept it, and definitely reach out to BioGut Clinic to experience comforting change in their life.
That's very, very good. One thing that I'd like to just add in, Alina, is one of the biggest concerns with IBS or many gut health issues is there's a dysbiosis or there's an imbalance in our gut microbiomes. And so one thing that we want to do is really focus on that, and many programs don't do that. And that's what makes BioGut unique, is we use a precision medicine approach where we're not only focusing on the multidisciplinary approach of mental health, physical activity, and nutrition, but we're bringing in that personalized piece of your gut microbiome. And we're looking at how we can reverse some of that dysbiosis to help tackle the symptoms that individuals are happening.
And to build upon that even more, psychosocial factors are often ignored, and this is the first time with a comprehensive approach where stress factors are actually focused on, and the psychology component is focused on in conjunction with diet and in conjunction with the kinesiology component. So for someone like Mohini, who's in the prime demographic, she is a busy mom, she's hardworking, she puts herself into her work a lot. It's very easy to let those psychosocial factors and those stressors get to you and exacerbate your condition. So it's important to address them as well, in combination with all the other factors that can make IBS worse and trigger symptom flare-ups.
Okay, well, for everyone, if you have any questions, because it was quite an explanation about why the symptomatics actually arise. And I believe dysbiosis is a very, very important component, as I know with our previous discussions, so thank you, lovely ladies. They debriefed me about how our microbiome, basically microorganisms which are living with us from day to day, are affecting our mood and our digestion and basically well-being. So well-being is nice when you are well, but sometimes our microbiome is contributing to our bad moods, and this is important to put your attention for, right? So now we have our lovely dietitian who told us about the dysbiosis, and Alya who actually suggested how our mental state can contribute to the severity of the gut symptoms.
And it's interesting that not only does mental health and nutrition have an impact on that dysbiosis, but even the activities you do. And they also play a role in irritable bowel syndrome. I think our exercise or physical activity expert should maybe hopefully join us sometime in the call as well.
But that will be amazing.
So that would be wonderful.
That will be a full team of the BioGut Clinic. Actually, starting the topic, I'm pretty curious how you came up with this idea of even founding BioGut Clinic in the first place.
Well, as a dietitian, I understand the power of food and I understand the power of prevention. But I also understand that one size doesn't fit all, and there's no one approach to each individual person. So that's when I started thinking, there's such a huge gap in terms of the treatment that's available for irritable bowel syndrome. There's such a large population of individuals that are dealing and suffering with irritable bowel syndrome, how can we marry the two to help people get answers and get relief from this and actually work towards, longevity and health span and focus on their health customized to them. And now that we're able to access tests like microbiome testing and sequencing and genome testing, we're able to customize it and bring all those components together. And we wanted to make this clinic virtual so that it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you can access it. It's, the beauty of BioGut Clinic is it's completely virtual. So you could be sitting halfway across the world and still be able to get support for irritable bowel syndrome.
Wow, that's a very amazing idea actually. And just how you bring everything together. You have multiple specialists, right? So you are able to be introduced to them right now. But all this, right, it needs to be entered through like a certain journey. Like how can you contribute everything, right? From the start to beginning in order to make sure that results are there, present and seen, right? To help people. Maybe you can debrief me more about what is the journey of the BioGut Clinic?
Alya, do you want to speak on that?
Yes, we have a 90-day journey that every patient is moving through, and it's very unique and tailored towards their specific needs. And we provide them with an IBS journal to keep track of various metrics that we're looking for and factors that we're kind of tracking along this journey to make sure that they're progressing. So we look at their activity levels, we look at their mood, we look at the types of food that they're eating, and everything is logged. And we have visual representations, we have graphical representations, and patients have access to a chat feature so they can communicate with us. There's a lot of bidirectional communication. And we also have touch points. So we have 4 touch points and an initial meeting where we kind of all come together and meet with the patient and discuss their needs in depth. And that's how everything is kind of established from the start. And there's a lot of accountability, and there's a lot of support for every patient based on what they're going through, any struggles that arise. And yeah, they have tailorized assessments and different things that they can engage with during this 90-day journey.
And plus, they do 2 gut microbiomes, so we actually do a comparative.
Well, I was actually wondering about the tailorized, right? So every patient with such a different complex condition, such as irritation, or I would say maybe dysbiosis that brings to diarrhea, or like it's like such a different spectrum of little things happening to the people, right? So my question was more of how that can be brought up and then fit to every patient. So
And maybe Moini can speak to that a little bit too, because you're right, every single person with irritable bowel syndrome is unique. Their symptoms are unique, what triggers them is unique, and that's where the crux of the program is. We're following them, we're working with them, because just like they're unique, their microbiome is unique too. So your microbiome is as unique as your fingerprint. So what we do is we have various touch points where we're customizing and working with them throughout the journey as they're getting education daily on their portal. Maybe when you can...
Exactly. So because it's me being in a family, all 5 members have a different symptoms, gut symptoms. Be it a kids if you talk about, or my husband has something different going on. And the idea was, it's basically whatever information was provided by Raman or Alya or Nida, that makes a different for you. Because when you start in the beginning, it's difficult to know what's exactly going on. But later on, you see how you feel happy, how you feel confident, how you feel in terms of some people are not confident in going anywhere. That makes you sometimes uncomfortable to go out for your parties or anywhere. You have so many symptoms which you cannot discuss with others. But when you start journey in the beginning, it's little difficult, but later on you talk about and it makes you easy to understand and achieve it.
Okay, so now actually bringing to the talking part, well, our psychological state is very important for digestive health, as was mentioned before. So what are the key points of improving the mental wellness for the people with the IBS? Maybe Alya, you can Talk more
Yes.
about that.
So building upon what Moini was saying, a very important thing that a lot of people with IBS are lacking is that acknowledgement and dealing with the stigma of their condition, feeling like something's wrong with them, that they're unconfident, and that they can't go about their daily lives with ease because they're always on edge, or they're worried about, you know, the perceptions of other people or the judgments of other people. So I focused on 4 different modules that kind of integrates that into it, and making sure that people understand their symptoms and understand what IBS is, and that it's not something to be ashamed of. And also focusing on self-management, so they have that confidence to take care of themselves once they finish the program, or once they go off back into the world with that new knowledge that they have. So the first module I focus on emotions, and the second one I focus on awareness of the body, so that's called interoceptive awareness, and also body image, because that's a very important topic. The third one is stress and anxiety, and how to deal with those negative feelings when they come up in relation to symptoms or different lifestyle things going on based on the person's, you know, unique experience. And the fourth one is on self-care and how to reintegrate all of these different lessons into their daily lives, and how to communicate better with people and kind of reassert themselves and have boundaries. So for each module, I go into common topics that are important. So in relation to emotions, it could be understanding how emotions correlate with symptoms and body responses, for example. And for body image, we talk about how to appreciate your body and view it in a more neutral sense, even if you have, you know, bloating or flare-ups, which can lead to negative self-talk and stuff like that. And for managing stress, we use a lot of CBT techniques, which is cognitive therapy. And I know we talked about that before, it's very complicated, but different psychotherapies, we focus on acceptance as well, because sometimes, even though we can't get rid of symptoms, we can accept them as they come. And with that acceptance comes a more proactive mindset where you can actually, you know, deal with those sensations in a more positive, concrete way. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, instead of ruminating, or instead of, you know, feeling worse. And then stuff like catastrophizing, that's another complicated word, but essentially it's, you know, playing up your emotions and kind of getting lost in this this loop of negative emotions. So we get people out of that. Yeah, and we get people to have more clarity, to have more peace with themselves, because a lot of it really is about management. So.
Well, you spoke about management, but I actually wondering, like, how hard is it to, you know, step into acknowledge? Because I don't know, for me personally, and maybe to someone else, and I don't know, maybe out there will relate, but it's very hard to acknowledge and step in to open up about your emotions and what you feel, and especially about some discomfort that you're facing. And actually, my respect to you, Mohini, maybe you can share, like, how actually you opened up and stepped into psychological part of dealing with your IBS.
Of course, Alina, it is 100% challenging to accept and to acknowledge that you have a mental health issue or any concerns. Because even being you never think in your life that you might have anything related to mental health. That thought even makes you scared. But trust me, going through with Alya for mental wellness sessions, that fear went away. So that is something makes me really happy. And now my perspective towards life changed. So that's something which is something new as a new person, I could say that. And while changing as a person, the toughest part, the same thing what Alya told about it right now, the comments and judgment from the people who are witnessing you is the toughest part, to ignore that. So I would say that everybody should be determined and do not stop loving yourself.
Okay.
Very nice words, yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I would like to speak on behalf of everybody on our team when I say that it's important to create a safe space for all of our clients and for all of our patients, and to make sure that they don't feel that judgment and that they feel supported. And that's exactly what we do, whether it's from the nutritional side or the kines side or from the mental health side, because there's nothing stigmatizing at all about IBS, and it affects so many people. It needs to be brought more into the light, and more awareness needs to be shed on these issues.
That is 100% correct.
Yeah. Well, that's actually, I would say, inspiring, because it's sometimes very hard to find a personal space into something that you don't know those people, and then you still need to open up, which is why you have my respect in having that. And actually, ladies, my respect to the BioGut Clinic as well, because you're actually helping people to step into such a challenging journey and then let them be themselves, actually. Well, we have been talking about the microflora and microbiome before, right? We touched the topic and how the microflora can contribute to our gut-brain bridge and basically contribute to our wellness. But dysbiosis actually affects our daily routine, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And then if you can just briefly touch on how exactly it can affect our daily routine, maybe our kinesiologist hoop in. I would actually love to see that if possible. She's right with us. Maybe she have some suggestions from the kinesiological part of how to deal with the gut symptoms.
Yeah.
Well, but
until Nita, our kinesiologist, comes in. But I can certainly touch on the microbiome and how it affects our daily lives, because the interesting thing about our microbiome is it changes so rapidly. So the foods we eat, our emotions, the medications we take, lifestyle changes, our activity, all of that impact it. And just little changes in our lifestyle can have positive and or negative impacts on our microbiome. And that can go back into daily symptoms. It can go into changes in our moods and behavior. It can go into changes in our energy levels, our skin. So all of these things are affected by our microbiome. I think even Moini, you mentioned that one change you noticed as we were working with the gut microbiome was a change in your skin.
That's exactly, because when you are eating the right portion of the food, or maybe from the mental health perspective, if you're changing your mindset, these gives impact overall body, but you will see these changes gradually. It's not in one day it happens. That's why we have this 90-day journey. And especially I feel that because in 3 months you make a pattern so that you get used to of it something in your life.
well, now that you told that you mentioned some changes, what would be like the main change when you know that you're contributing to your microbiome? Did you have any feelings, let's say in your gut or somewhere? How would you feel that your microbiome changed? I know that maybe need to be confirmed by molecular technologies and much of that.
That's not true. So like for even me,
Okay.
I have a personal journey with the gut microbiome. When I first started, I started to become very, very consistent with certain prebiotics and made sure that I had them in my diet regularly.
Before we'll go, can you please tell what is prebiotics?
Absolutely. So prebiotics are fibers or foods that we feed into the gut microbiome, into the bacteria that they actually can use and break down to create something called postbiotics, which are actually the byproducts of the bacteria. So the foods that they eat or the foods they get, then they create a byproduct, and it's that byproduct that goes up our vagus nerve and interacts with the rest of our body. So some common byproducts that we would really like are short chain fatty acids, because they have anti-inflammatory effects.
Okay, well, where can we find those?
So that comes from, again, making sure your diet is consistent with foods that feed the healthy microorganisms. The more processed foods we eat tend to limit or reduce the number of healthier bacteria.
Okay, so more vegetables.
Yeah, more prebiotic
More
fibers. So there's
prebiotic
lots of different
fibers.
things, and that's kind of
Okay.
how we customize and we work with each individual person to help them find what works for them.
That's lovely. I know like in the previous webinar, me and Alya touched more about that fridge is not a solution,
Yeah.
right? Maybe it's like in some way is a solution, but only when you're taking a balanced diet. but I still remember our conversation.
Yes, and this is why I
Yes.
really respect Raman, because she says she has a food first approach, and I really like that. So really tailorizing a person's journey, you know, based on their unique food sensitivities and their preferences, but also taking into account their actual microbiome composition and how it's functioning, and trying to improve it through food instead of solely relying on pharmacological and pills and those kind of interventions. And I feel like that is generally a human flaw. People don't like change. They don't like gradual, step-by-step processes. They like things to be right away, and they want rapid improvement. But sometimes you do have to bite the bullet, so to say, and you have to make some positive changes. And it might take some time for those changes to kick in, but you know that they're going to be longer lasting, and you know that you're going to feel the impact of those changes as they come together. The lifestyle factors and the psychological factors, everything, it's going to make the best change for the patient.
Well, I'm actually curious about those changes, and maybe, Mohini, can you tell us more about which little changes, let's say, from some applications that was suggested by Nida, our kinesiologist, Raman, or Alya, some little positive impacts that contributed, and what you observed after some time?
Alina, it's not little impact, I would say it's overall impact on my overall lifestyle. And I would say my gut symptoms after struggling 11 years, I have seen much better now. So that is thing, it's a big relief for me, because I was struggling with that. I can't even explain that situation, what I was going through in the beginning of the journey and what I'm right now. So even in terms of food, there was so many times I used to have some cravings like chocolates, iced tea, or something else. But Raman never stopped me. She gave me some healthy alternatives and never asked me to eliminate anything from my diet, but she has been always supporting for me. In terms of journey, I would say like they have very easy steps to adapt, and they have personalized and actionable goals which anybody could achieve. And this platform actually motivates you to achieve or even do much better. I can call it as a motivational platform, because I was having my watch lying in my drawer for several months. But it's neither going through with kinesiology sessions, I started wearing the watch. So definitely there is something, too many positive aspects in my life, I could say that. And I have got a new name in my family, that's healthy.
Okay.
So that's something new development for me in 2024.
Well, the new development for me in 2024, because I don't have watch and it's still in my drawer.
Exactly. So you see, that's why.
There you go.
That's why.
So, well, that's amazing. And actually, while we are going, I was wondering if anyone from our auditory is interested in some questions to ask, maybe about the alternatives for the chocolate or some other food, right? Because this is my craving, and this is what I usually look for in a fridge. I eliminated that, so then I will not eat too much. But honestly,
So the amazing thing is when you start working with your gut microbiome, your cravings naturally go away. You don't crave those things because
Sure.
the healthier you make your microbiome, and it's sending signals up to your brain through that gut-brain axis and telling you which foods you want to choose, because those microorganisms want to be fed. So it's an incredible correlation between the two.
okay, well, meanwhile, I just received the message that our kinesiologist can be on the line. So let's see who's there. Hello, Nida.
Hello, Nina.
I'm not entirely sure whether everyone can hear you, so I'll probably place you slightly closer.
Okay.
Well, we just been talking about you and mentioning how you helped to pull the watch from the drawer into the hand, and maybe you can make me do the same. But I'm very lazy. I don't know, it will be a challenge for you. But maybe I can briefly touch what is the contribution from the kinesiological part to the people who are struggling with the IBS?
Okay, thank you for calling. So the key components of improving IBS by exercise or from the kinesiology perspective is related to the effects of improving two main factors, which is one is muscular strength and the other one could be gut mobility. Muscular strength can play a role in supporting the bowel movements in several ways. For example, I can mention that, for example, muscle strength can help generate the intra-abdominal pressure needed for the natural movement of stool through the intestine. And also, it could be helpful for reduce the constipation risk, because regular exercise, any kind of exercise like strength training or aerobic activities, can help reducing the risk of constipation by promoting regular bowel movement and maintaining healthy gut function. And the other component, which is gut mobility, is related to different factors, but it's mainly related to the gut microbiome, which is the main purpose of this program that we have in BioGut. That the gut microbiome will affect by the exercise through the microbiome diversity. Like exercise can increase the microbiome diversity, and which is generally considered beneficial for overall health. And also exercise has the effects as the anti-inflammatory effect, because exercise can help reduce the systemic inflammation and which may positively influence the composition of gut microbiome as well. The other factor I could mention is that this is the main factor actually in my idea. It's the main factor because exercise has been shown to improve gut barrier function, which can help prevent the leakage of harmful substances from the gut into the bloodstreams. These are the components that we can mention briefly, that these are the main effects of the exercise on gut health from the exercise perspective.
Okay, well actually I know that that you mentioned that exercise can actually bring a positive contribution to our microbiome. In my head there's a flash about like that I know that from exercising you have increased level of serotonin, and this is the question to Alya, right? So how is it kind of related to the IBS? To having and then like exercise increase their serotonin, and this is where Nita and Alya can contribute to my question. So the serotonin levels from the exercise can positively contribute from the psychological part as well, right?
Of course, yes.
Yes, and somehow it could be related also to the gut health from some from some points, but I'm not sure that is it exactly related to the serotonin that we're expecting from the mental activities or mental health or not, because the serotonin that we are triggering from the exercise could be a little bit different when affecting the body, like the gut, the serotonin. I'm sure that maybe the mechanism are similar. The mechanism is similar, but I'm not sure about the pathways.
Okay, maybe Alya can briefly touch on
Yes, that's a complex
That's a very
neurological
complicated
question
question,
about the
yeah.
pathways, but generally serotonin, you can trigger serotonin through a lot of positive lifestyle things such as exercise, but also social connection increases serotonin, and certain foods increase serotonin. So you often hear about the turkey dinner and how, tryptophan can influence, the production of serotonin and different neurotransmitters like that. So that's a common phrase, So different foods, they can produce serotonin in the brain. And
what I find really interesting about what Nita was saying is that people don't realize that with exercise, it can impact IBS symptoms. So sometimes, Anita, correct me if I'm wrong, but sometimes you have runners and they're running and they don't realize that may actually be instigating some of their symptoms. Or if you have somebody who's doing weightlifting or weights, that may be contributing to their constipation. So it has a very close tie to that. Would you agree? Would you agree, Nita?
Yes, exactly. there's a good correlation between some symptoms in IBS and also different types of exercise, as we discussed in our program. And we had some contents. We have some contents for our patients about that, because, for example, running is like the high impact activity, and actually it could affect in different ways the digestive systems, for example, and the intensity and the duration of many exercises can also affect the gut mobility and the gut health from the different perspective, different ways, and different pathways. Even timing of the running, timing of the exercise could be a little bit important, and the hydration and nutrition, which is related to the exercise, also are important. Yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, fortunately we are coming to the time when we need to wrap everything up. And as we come to the end of our time together, I'm filled with gratitude to thank all of you for being such an incredible, engaging audience. Today has been more than just collection of the words. It has been a journey of ideas, insights, and collective inspiration. Each one of you contributed to the richness of our discussion, and I want to thank Raman, Alya, and Mohini for sharing such a wonderful insights on how microbiome mental health can contribute to our gut wellness. And special thanks to Mohini to being brave enough to share her challenges, because it's very hard to step up front and share whatever you have right here to the people. Well, I want to thank you all again, and I want to make sure that you are aware that we have a new webinar coming along in 2 weeks, and this webinar will be focusing on the bioinformatics. So if you want to dive into the world of bioinformatics, please step in. We will be glad to hear your questions and have you to learn more about the wonderful world of biology and technology. Thank you very much. Have a great evening. Thank you, ladies.